Well, when it first came into the press or online. No, good Lord, no, no. No, and down in the West Country, we're slower than the rest of the country. So whatever was happening up north would reach us, but not for a while. Well, as a town crier, on a warm Saturday, you can see, meet, greet, hug, pose for photographs with up to 500 people, because Exmouth is a very busy tourist town. So they can come from anywhere. And it could have been one of those. Or alternatively, I sing with the Exmouth Shantymen. That's about a dozen of us and one woman. And we did a gig in a very, very, very extremely hot, crowded pub about a week before. So it could have been that too. Yes, and there's no point in worrying over something you cannot answer. Absolute exhaustion, total and utter exhaustion. I was as flat as a playing card. I rang, not long, I rang 111, and the very sensible person there passed me up to the next level. They listened and said, "Do you live on your own?" I said, "Yes." They said, "Ring 999 now." So I did. And this amazingly courteous man, gentleman, paramedic turned up, checked me over, said, "Right, we're sorted, packed some things, we're going." Put me in his car, blue lights and headlights on, and drove me the 12 miles to the Exeter Royal Devon and Exeter Hospital, the big one for us, through traffic lights, through the roundabout, over the wrong way round, and got me there. And then began an amazing journey, because I was triaged at A&E by a consultant and a matron. And then began my 11 days. 11th of March. No, you'll have to look it up. I had a cough. Yes, I was lucky, I guess. The 111 expert sort of listened extremely carefully, asked me very few questions, and said, "Go call 999." Because living on your own and being 73 now, I was 72 at the time, and 30 years a type 2 diabetic, high blood pressure, I'm a prime candidate. No, nobody knew really. He had gloves on, he had his scrubs and sort of things on. Don't remember him having a mask, but he might have had a paper mask, you know. And then I was put into their VIP suite, which is just, I think, a 4 or 6 bedded ward, until they decide what they want to do with you. Anyway, consultant came, chatted. I had a chest X-ray. The what you call it, the stickers all over your chest and the monitors on for your heart. And he decided I'd got a urine infection and a chest infection, and they would account for my symptoms. So after 3 days, I think, in that ward, I, in fact, was then moved to a COVID-19 ward because somebody else decided, yes, test him. And turned out I did have COVID-19. So I was in this room, airless, no window to look through, couldn't open a window, a locked door, nobody allowed in or out, staff only, single at a time, fully in camouflage uniform, hazard uniform. And there I stayed. I was so weak. All I could do was lie on my bed, either with a sheet over me or off me, and then roll sideways onto my commode, my portable toilet. I couldn't do anything else. I didn't have the physical strength. And when people ask me now, how are you feeling? You look cheerful. And I say, flesh is weak, but spirit is fierce. It's odd, you know, you don't feel, well, I didn't, you don't feel fear. You're not afraid. It's just one more pile of poo you got to walk around or over or pick up if you're a dog owner. It's just another life's brickbats, I suppose. But I didn't. The Russian author, Solzhenitsyn, he wrote about his experiences in a stalag, in Gulag, in Russia. And he found himself concentrating on the most minutest of things. A faint mark on the wall, a tiny crack in the brickwork. And after I brought that back to my mind, and I was lying there, stuck with needles and cannulae from head to toe, it seemed, I realized if you lie in a cupboard under the stairs and cry your eyes out, you will die. If you just think, not positively, not forcefully, but just allow your mind to drift over things, memories. You can't plan a future, so that doesn't come into your mind. You can't undo any mistakes in your life, so they don't come into your mind. And I'm certain a fierce will, a strong willpower is actually what carried me through. That and amazing care. In my lifetime, I've been lucky enough to stay in some amazing hotels. And by golly, I've never been in one like that. No, single room, only me. And the first morning I was there with COVID, consultant sat on the end of my bed and said, Roger, if you go on a ventilator, you will die. I didn't understand what he's talking about. I said, thank you, yes. The human brain is an odd thing. After great trauma, drama, the memories will fade fast. The peaks, the pain will fade fast. No, I never got bored. It's most odd, isn't it? 11 days I was there, same, oh no, they changed my ward actually later, but always in a single locked room. Nobody allowed in or out, no visitors, no family, no friends. But I had my mobile phone. And although I was no good at Skype, I could FaceTime and I could message people. And I found that immense support. Actually, by the end of it, it got too much. So many people to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I've forgotten your question now. No. All came to visit me in the beginning. My ex-wife, lovely woman, my 3 children, lovely people. I don't think any of the 7 grandchildren came. But anyway, on the 6th day, my vital signs began to fall quite rapidly. And the medics rang my family and said, we can do no more for him, which really was a death sentence. But I don't know, at that time I was slightly delirious, couldn't get cold, I was too hot. And I was having needles and different things stuck into me. And one of the things that happens to your veins in COVID-19 is that they harden and shrink. So if you're not the world's best with a cannula needle, then they'll put it in you and they'll poke about and push and pull, trying to find that vein. And I ended up with horrendous bruises over both arms and over my wrists and my hands. But they're quite amazing. Some of those people in there are beyond belief. There's a story of, it might be not appropriate, you can cut it out, but there was a beautiful black woman, staggeringly beautiful, with hair in braids so perfect, piled high as if she was on the front cover of National Geographic. And she said to me, what's that? And I began looking down and said, no, that's diarrhea. Go into the shower room now. I went in, she stripped me naked and washed me from head to toe. That sort of selfless, totally self-effacing service. Incredible love and care. Yes. I didn't know I was mumbling or whatever I was doing. But the family were stricken with agony and pain. And those, well, it's two things. First of all, you have to have that quite wonderful care that our NHS gives us. I mean, to me, it was free. I'd paid stamps all my life. And here I was reaping this 5-star, 6-star benefit. Quite amazing. And secondly, my will was always strong. My willpower was always fierce. That terribly important. Yes, more needles, more injection, more fluids, more testing. The one at a time suddenly went up to 2 at a time coming in, the staff members. And just very quietly and efficiently, they did things in the room to me, to my drips, to my cannulae, to the needles going in and out of me, needles in my tummy, needles everywhere. It seemed to me, I haven't got a needle phobia, but I did notice it. Odd, you asked me that question and you'd think it would be simple to answer, but it's not. I can't remember thinking I'm not going to die. I remember mentally sticking my finger up the virus and saying some words quietly to myself, but no, there was no great, like athletes can make a supreme effort, and you can see on TV that they're making this supreme effort, and they win or they come first or whatever it is they're attempting. I didn't have that. I just worked through 11 days. No, I didn't mind what they said or what I asked or what they asked. You can't be closed in that situation. There are no secrets in that situation. And that for many will be painful, but honesty is essential. I just love seeing the words from them. Just loved picturing them as they wrote things. Not none whatsoever, not at all. From that very time, that consultant sat calmly on the end of my bed and told me that if I went on a ventilator, I wouldn't have many birthdays or whatever he said. He was direct and frank and refreshing. That coloured my whole experience, really. My daughter, who came and collected me from the hospital and lived with me here for 4 days, to let me go on my feet, and she left her 2 children and a husband and her second year of nursing degree back in Yeovil, and she christened him Hot Tom because he was a lovely man, delightful man. You know, some people, their care and love for anybody, everybody, is just so inclusive and so open that you warm to them as if you've known them all your life. Didn't like to make a phone call, but Hannah spoke with him quite often. And in fact, the second night I was home, my heart rate began to miss a beat. Every 9 or 10 beats, it would miss a beat. So Hannah spoke, I think 111 actually. Anyway, they sent 2 paramedics, and these 2 lovely women turned up, stuck those stickers on your chest where they do all your heart measurements and things, and they stayed for an hour and a half, nearly 2 hours, some long time, in the middle of the night, until they said, he's calm, all these signs are good, none of them are pointing badly to anything bad, we're going to go. Yes, yes, all of them, all of them. Yes, yes, so far all seem good. Yes, yes. I, everything that was planned, of course, got binned. Um, I had got singing shanties in various places. I've got every weekend, and sometimes 2, 3, 4, even 5 times in a day, town crier events where I'd put on my robes, my town crier robes, my brilliant white socks, um, my lovely embroidered coat, waistcoat, and then the jabots, those laced neck pieces. I used to put 3 of those on because they look better. And then my hat with its peacock feathers, my white gloves, and my highly polished, very heavy bell, which cost me £840 when I bought it 2 years ago from the no longer existing in its then premises for 300 years, the Whitechapel Bell Foundry. Yes, yes, amazing place, lovely people. Yes, I've had two bells from them. One um, funded by a lovely couple who run a care home in Exmouth, and they, in fact, funded my first set of robes because when I was appointed town crier, our previous one had died about 12 months ago. The council had left the post empty out of respect, and then they put an advert in saying anyone want to be town crier, and I'd got no idea about anything to do with town crying. But in this lovely street in Exmouth, in Bicton Street, there's a strange community. It's lovely. And as I look up the hill, the gentle rise there, and the road curves, and the sun is on the facades of all the fronts of all the buildings, and they remind me of Oxford High Street. I lived there for 53 years, and looking up the high, although it curves the wrong way, with the sun on the facades, just reminds me of that. Anyway, these lovely neighbours gathered together and wrote a letter to the council saying Roger would be a good town crier. And then they'd say things to me in the street. You've got a beard, you could be town crier. You whistle a lot, you could be town crier. You've got a loud voice, you could be town crier. You've got a fat belly, you could be town crier. So I did eventually apply, got an invitation to be interviewed, got offered a job from the interview, and I knew I'd be marched out into the town square here and told to shout. And I knew that I'd have to write 100 to 125 words about Exmouth, its beauties, its people, its friendliness. So I did that, although actually I didn't do that on my own. I knew a lovely, unusual, eccentric man in Topsham near Exmouth, Griff. And I went to him and he said, sit down. And he wrote something. And you can tell he was eccentric because his kitchen table was an old clock face from Euston Station. And there wasn't a square inch of his walls anywhere that weren't covered in artifacts and curios. Wonderful man, wonderful house. Anyway, so that was the word. And I didn't know how to say oh yay. Is it oys? Oh yes. So I went to a man on the corner who sells T-shirts and does engraving. Lovely man. And he said, oh, I can help you there. And he proceeded to bellow out the most incredibly loud and glorious, strong, oh yay, oh yay. I stopped and stared. I said, how on earth did you do that? He said, oh, I was in a pantomime once. And as I turned to leave his shop, he said, and 23 years in the Royal Marines as a physical training instructor gave me the voice. Yes, yes, yes. For the first 6 years, I was paid £5.44 a week. Then it went up to £10, and last October reached £20 a week. And that usually equates to about 200 events a year, plus walking around the town and the seafront. No. No, I remember I lost my sense of taste and my sense of smell. The meals they brought me were very good meals, but I couldn't eat any. I just maybe a teaspoon, maybe 2 teaspoons. That was it. But there was always I was being fed through drips, and there was food and the water and whatever nutrients I needed. So they cared for me immensely well. I I can't speak more highly of the utter selflessness of those people. The NHS, from my experience, I, I'm not, as a town crier, I'm strictly apolitical. However, I'd rather have someone in the NHS as a friend than a politician right now. Yes, 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 yes. I'm not qualified to speak of that, but I can say that the idea that these marvelous people haven't got exactly the protective gear they need, require, is beyond belief. I can't understand it. Um, I, I'm beyond belief. I ran a small company for years and years. We used to design and manufacture unusual machines. And the safety gear, you never thought about expenditure on safety gear. It was a little column right at the end of the 12 months. But there was always boxes. And if you wanted to take 2 masks or 3 masks or 2 pairs of welding gloves or 3, it didn't matter because it only takes a split second for harm to occur. It can, whether it's a virus entering your body from a patient, from somebody suffering, whether it's a spark entering your eye from a welding or a grinding operation. So you have to be, you have to, you, you must never count the cost of safety equipment. No, no, no. No, none of them were in that frame of mind. They just focused on me, which is amazing. Focused on their jobs. Utter professional. Mm. Um, 2020 hindsight is a wonderful thing. That's all I'll say. Yes, I'd probably bought a bottle of champagne and some very nice food, I think. Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely. And I get my pleasure these days. I can just sit on my step and I can play the guitar in the sunshine. And that's just a lovely thing to do. I get so relaxed. I come back in. I've got a bookshelves here with over 400 cookery books because I love reading them. And so I pluck one out. And whenever I have a cookery book, a new one, I flick through it and I mark on the inside cover, try, and the page and the recipe name. And if I then do it, I mark it on the other side. And when I turn to the recipe, I find who was there, why they were invited, what changes I made to the recipe, what result it was, what I do different next time. And it's lovely, like reading an old diary. So I keep myself busy, if you say. Yes, they are. Exmouth Beach is a magnet for people. We have 2 miles of soft gold sand, and people adore it. Dogs adore it. But in the beginning, the first Sunday I was 2 weeks ago, the beach was crowded. I remember my daughter, who was staying with me, I said to her, look, you see all those people? Some of those will be dead. Well, whether they're dead or not, by golly, there's nobody there now. You're lucky. You could have counted 2,000 people easily. And if you can count 6 or 8, that's all now. Now they will all have a dog. Yes, I can't stress enough. I think it's so important that we follow that government advice of self-isolation of 2 meters. I remember going into a shop only a few days ago and turning to, oh, it's in a queue for a rather smart shop, and turning to somebody behind me and saying, were you brought up in the West Country? Yes, I was. Well, that explains why you have no concept of the metric system. 4 foot is not 2 meters. So important. Bound to. Look at everybody else's curves. Bound to. Sometimes I'd quietly hum silently to myself, showing me the way to go home. And You Are My Sunshine, which is I used to, Oxford, when I was young, was a very different town. It was empty, not much traffic. And with a friend, we used to go cycling together, and we'd each have a ukulele, and we'd cycle no hands for about 4 miles, 4.5 miles, playing and singing those songs. Yes. No. And actually, in a horrible way, no, you can't. I can't even say this. I was going to say, in a horrible way, this has done society, our societies, a jolt, a shock. And although, no, it's wrong of me to say it. I was going to say, in a way, there's some good to come from it, but it's at such a cost. How can anybody justify more people dying than in a horrid war? No, no, nothing justifies that. Well, yes, they could send me a card saying, well done, Roger. As town crier, I once went last year, actually, went to a care home in Exmouth, and there were 3 ladies having a 100th birthday. Yeah. Not be afraid of sitting on my ass doing nothing. Yes. Yes. I've learned to sit on my backside and do nothing and get pleasure from it. A shantyman is part of that short 200-year period when ships with big square sails sailed round the oceans, trading cotton, grain, slaves, And that was the beginning of international trade. And the sailors, they had the same sails, no matter what language they spoke. They had the same cruel conditions, no matter what or where. Down in the bowels of those ships, because they leaked all the time, there was men continually pumping. 24 hours a day, they pump, pump, pump. And men would die while they were pumping. And fresh man put on. It was a horrid, cruel, cruel time. But the songs that the sailors used for the actions they did, the work songs, spread around the globe. And I know songs of which there are 50 different versions, sung in ports in different cities, different countries, different rivers. An amazing period. And the songs are easy. You don't have to have much of a memory. There's only 4, 5, 6 verses. They're not like a folk song where you've got 27 verses. No, they're short, and they can be terribly uplifting, wonderfully cheerful, or frighteningly sad. They can bring tears to your voice whilst you're singing. Amazing. I love it. No, I didn't. No, not one. Not one. Oh, Shenandoah. Shenandoah was the only one. No, you've been a very patient and courteous interviewer. I thank you for that. Thank you very much. Okay. Yes, yes. Yeah, I can do that. Yes, right. No, I shall do that, Stuart. Okay. Thank you. Cheerio. Bye-bye.